Hi, my name's Julie Dundon. I'm an advanced accredited practicing dietitian, and I'm here today to talk about healthy eating and just how do we know what a healthy diet is? How do we know who to believe? There's so much misinformation about healthy eating. It's sometimes really difficult to work out what you can believe and what you shouldn't. The media, social media, television, it's all full of good information, but also some misinformation. Some real basics about healthy eating is found at a website called eatforhealth.gov.au, and the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating is a model that's been developed after reviewing 55,000 scientific articles and papers. It's taken a lot of thought to get to this, and sometimes when you look at it you think, well, that's pretty straightforward, I knew that anyway. And so it's a very sensible way of eating, and it's something that we should be adopting for the long term. So the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating tells us that we should be eating grains every day, and it can be a range of different grains. It doesn't have to be wheat or bread. It can be rice, it can be quinoa, it can be a range of different cereals. The vegetables, about a third of our diet should be based on vegetables. And again, eating a rainbow is a great idea. Having all different colours of vegetables and fruits is really important. Then the meat and the protein foods, the alternatives, so meat, fish, chicken, tofu, eggs, nuts, seeds, pulses, all good options as sources of protein. The dairy foods, which are a good calcium and protein source. And then the fruits. We need at least 2 serves of fruit for the day. So a healthy diet is including all of those food groups, not just one or not just 3 or 4 of them, it's all of them. And by having them in those quantities, we know we're getting them in the right proportion. Now, the website that you can find more information about this is at eatforhealth.gov.au, and there's a whole lot of information there that I'm sure you'll find very interesting. On the bottom of this guide are what we would call the sometimes foods, because we can have them but only sometimes. So it's not never, they're not never foods, they're sometimes foods. So at special occasions, celebrations, if you're really very, very active, an athlete might even be able to manage to have a few more of those than someone who sits down in an office all day. The other food group down here are the saturated, or the fats, the unsaturated fats. The saturated fats mainly come from animal foods, and they're not recommended to have them in large quantities at all. And if you can avoid them, that would be the best. So unsaturated fats like canola oil and olive oil are good additions to our diet. And we really need to look at ways of including small amounts rather than large amounts. Now, the nutrients that this way of eating provide us, those nutrients are things like protein, fats and oils, carbohydrate, and fibre, and the vitamins and minerals. So if we get all of those nutrients every day, we're less likely to be unwell. We're less likely to get diabetes and heart disease. We're more likely to be able to look after our weight, and we'll probably have much better energy levels to get through the day. So if we look at protein and what protein does, that certainly helps our muscles and our tissues repair and maintain our strength and our body. As I said, we only need small amounts of protein. We don't need the large amounts of protein that Australians tend to eat. And if you eat large amounts of protein, you don't store it as muscle. You don't just suddenly gain muscle. You'll store that as fat, and you'll find you'll gain weight. Fats are very good and essential for our health, but we don't need very much. They're important because they carry those fat-soluble vitamins around our body, and it also provides us with some fatty acids, helps us to form our own hormones that we make. And we certainly know that fats make our food taste pretty good too. As I said before, there are some fats that we need to avoid, the saturated fats. So they're found mainly in animal foods, but also in palm oil and coconut oil. So in some of those processed biscuits and cakes, the saturated fats are going to be very high. Saturated fats tend to be hiding in some of those takeaway foods too. So when we eat out and we find our food has that lovely shine on it, and it feels a bit slippery. It feels slippery because it's often higher in fat than we would have done if we'd cooked at home. So eating out is often much higher in fat. Carbohydrate foods, we know that carbohydrate foods maintain our blood glucose levels, so we can maintain our strength and our activity, and also our concentration. So carbohydrate foods are broken down and they form glucose and they go into our blood so that we can use it as our fuel. You'll find that some foods, some carbohydrate foods, get broken down very slowly and others very quickly. And we know that those foods that break down very slowly can maintain our blood glucose for a lot longer, and we're less likely to feel hungry between meals. And that's called low glycemic index foods. So low GI foods are recommended. So whole grains are certainly a great option. Using more baked beans as a low GI option can help to maintain our blood glucose levels for longer. But the GI isn't the be-all and end-all. The glycemic index is certainly a tool that we can use. There are some foods like potato chips and chocolate that are very high in fat but have a low GI. So we can't use just the glycemic index to determine which foods are the healthy foods. Well, what about sugar? Is that really a bad food or not? Well, sugar gives us lots of energy, and let's say we call that kilojoules or calories, with no vitamins and minerals. So a little bit of sugar here and there is usually fine, but things like soft drinks and lollies and chocolate are very high in sugar, so it's giving us lots of fuel, lots of energy, and if you're burning that up, that's a good thing. But for most of us who sit in an office or sit behind a desk, we won't be burning that up. So fibre is found in the whole grains and fruits and vegetables, particularly if you're leaving the skins and the seeds in it. So if you eat a piece of fruit and eat the skin, so an apple, and you eat the apple skin, you don't have to eat the orange skin, that's okay. Eating the oranges is a really good thing, but as many skins as you can. And certainly we know that fibre helps our bowel function, and it's even been shown to help lower our cholesterol levels. Now, vitamins and minerals, if we're having a range of different foods from this model, we know that most of our vitamins and minerals are going to be covered. So if you know that you're eating all of those food groups every day, the chances are that you are not going to need a vitamin or mineral supplement. But if you have a medical condition that excludes you from eating a food group for whatever reason, then sometimes your diet might become unbalanced, and it might be necessary to include a specific vitamin or mineral supplement. If you're really unsure about that, it would be a good idea to have your diet assessed by a dietitian, and then we can actually see exactly which vitamin or mineral you might need to have supplemented. So I think that's all I've got to say about healthy eating. Just make sure that you check out that website, eatforhealth.gov.au. There's also another little brochure that you can print from that website, which also has even how many serves of each of those food groups that you might need a day. At least it gives you a guideline about what would be reasonable for you to make sure that you can look after your weight, that you can keep yourself well, that you can maintain your energy levels and keep yourself at work and working hard, but also having a good time at the same time. So this is a great model, the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating. It gives you some ideas about how you can keep yourself well.